Hello, I'm a little behind, so I'm going to try and catch up on a couple lessons tonight. We see how that goes. This is from a few weeks ago. This was not part of, can't seem to get my picture here. This was not part of the alphabet. It was based on the Shema, basically some words in it. So we're going to go over those. And I can't find my black marker, so I'm certainly hoping that the blue shows up well enough. Let's see, do I have any other colors here? Well, I'm thinking about it. I wonder if something else would, if I do that, does it make it worse or better? It doesn't make any difference. Okay. Anyway, this was from the Shema that we usually say. Thou shalt love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your, I can say it in Hebrew, what is it in English? All your heart, all your soul, and all your might, all your strength, whatever. And when Yeshua quotes it in the Brit Hadashah, when somebody asks him, so what is the most important commandment? And he says to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind. He adds in mind. And I don't know really what word he used for mind, and that's what we're going to go over here. Anyway, we've been over lev before. That's heart, lamed, vet, lev, and this is nefesh. It means soul, but it means appetites, instincts, desires, feelings, that kind of thing. And I keep thinking about this. So I guess I'm going to go on a rant for just a minute. I hear a lot of people talk about, I looked it up in Strong's, and so I know what this word means. Now, first of all, I love Strong's. I'm so grateful that we have Strong's. And I don't know any Greek, so when I need to know something about a Greek word, that's my resource for sure. And it's a wonderful place to start for Hebrew. But I have seen quite a few people, and myself included, I'm going to tell the story on myself, who think because they looked it up in Strong's, they know the whole story. And I just want to share that that's not necessarily the case. In my case, it comes from the word nefesh. 10, 15 years ago, when I was starting to learn Hebrew and knew just enough to be dangerous, literally, I ran across nefesh, and when you look it up in Strong's, it'll say soul. It'll say some other things too, but usually it's going to be translated as soul. And I, at the time, was still a vegan. And so I was very concerned about animals. And there is that verse, and I was going to look it up. Proverbs something, 12:10, something like that. A righteous man regards the life of his beast, is how it is usually translated. But in Hebrew, it's a righteous man, yada, knows, that kind of knows, the nefesh of his beast. And I looked up those words in Strong's, and yada means to know, and it's the same word to know that is used in Genesis when Adam knew his wife and she conceived. So, and I'm not going to suggest that we're supposed to have relationships with animals on that level, but when I looked at that and looked it up in Strong's, I thought, see, this proves my point, because a righteous man intimately connects with and understands the deepest feelings and the soul of his beast. And we do know that beasts have souls. And so he knows them as individuals. They aren't just livestock or produce or equipment. They're creatures that belong on this earth and that they're sharing with him. And so I went around and preached that. And I believed that most people had translated that verse wrong, that it's not just regards the life of his beast, it meant to know intimately and to have great regard for it and to be touched by it and to know each creature as an individual person, basically. And you could prove that from Strong's, and I did, except I was wrong. Because yes, soul is the main definition for nefesh, but it doesn't mean soul the way I assumed it meant soul. Like I said, it tends to mean animal instincts, drives, feelings, things like that. It can mean soul the way we tend to think of it, but more often it means something different. And when it says yada, yes, that word is used in Genesis, and it's used as a euphemism to show that Adam and Eve had a relationship beyond conversation, but it does not mean in every time you see that word used in the Tanakh, it does not mean intimate, deep knowledge. It can simply mean to know a fact. So the way everybody else had translated that verse, they were right and I was wrong, even though I could prove it from Strong's. And so in the correct translation, I think it would be better now, 10 years later, to say a righteous man comprehends the instincts and needs of his animals, of his farm animals. Like a chicken needs to be able to get out and scratch and take a dust bath. That doesn't mean he knows each chicken personally, but he understands what they are going to need to feel safe and to produce well. They're going to need a place that's safe to lay their eggs. They're going to need a place that is either up high or that has a small entrance so that wild creatures that are bigger than they are can't get into where their eggs are. So anyway, so that's my thought whenever people say, well, I looked it up in Strong's and I know that you think it means this, or I know most people says it means this, but one of the meanings is, and they give the last meaning in the list and they go off on a rant with it, which is exactly what I did at the beginning. So yes, use Strong's. It is wonderful, but keep in mind you're not going to get context and you're not going to get nuance. And somebody who knows more than I do needs to explain to you what all those definitions in Strong's mean. Anyway, so that's my rant. Anyway, so love the Lord your God with all your lev and with all your nephesh, your feelings, your instincts, your drives. And then we're going to go on to the next word, which is strength, which is in both the Brit Hadashah and in the Tanakh. And the word that's used in the Tanakh is meod. And let's see. And it's spelled two ways. I've seen it, you will find it, whatever, in writing one thing and saying something else. I'm not quite that skilled. Me'od, and then you'll also see it without the Holam Vav. And you'll just see the Holam up there. Me'od, because the Aleph just goes with whatever vowel marking is with it. And this is, I think, cute because it also means very. So if you're like, how are you today? Tov meod. I'm very good. Meod is the very part. So when you read the Shema in Hebrew, and cha on the end means your. So all your heart, all your heart, all your strength, all your heart, all your soul, and all your meodeka. And it's like all your very, which I think is cute. But I guess that means, since it's used both ways, I have to assume it means something like energy, something like that with all your gusto, that kind of thing. And I also, when I did this with the group, I also threw up moed because I confused the words at the beginning. You may not. You may be very clear, but I wasn't. And I think that's sorry, yeah, okay. Okay, meod, moed. And moed is the appointed time. They have a different letter. That's an aleph, that's an ayin. And neither one has a sound of its own. It's just what the vowel marking is with it. So you have the O at the end here and the O at the beginning there. Meod and moed. But as long as we were on the word strength, I threw out a bunch of other words. There are quite a few words in Hebrew for strength. And I don't know all the nuances between them. I'm going to share the ones that I feel pretty secure about because I don't want to lead you astray. Koach. And it has a doggish, correct? Yes. And let's see, where was the, okay. And there were three others, let's see. Chazak. Oh, Haska, never mind. And you'll be able to see if I put two more down there. Omets. And Hayu. Okay, koach. That is more like power or force. They all can be translated strength, but like I said, there's little shade of meaning. Like if we say all your strength, all your energy, all your force, all your drive, they all mean strength in a sense, but they're all a little different too. And we have an innate sense, having grown up speaking English, to know which one to use. And I'm doing the best I can to separate these for you. Okay, so that would be like force, energy, power. This one, chazak. If you're in a synagogue and you finish one of the books of the Torah, at the end, what is that? Chazak, chazak, v'yit chazek. Be strong, and let us be strengthened. And this comes from this word. So it's about the best word you can say is just strength. There's probably more ways to nuance it, but I don't know that there is a better word for it. Omets, that would be virtue, which was considered, especially back in King James England time when the KJV was being translated, virtue also meant strength. It didn't just mean modesty and sexual purity. There was more to it than that. And this kind of goes with that, omets. And there's chayil. And I think, I should have looked it up to be sure, but I believe it's the modern word for army. So it is, I don't know, power in that sense, a mighty movement. So all of these can mean strength along with meod. And I almost said moed. See, I get them confused. Okay, now, I don't know what word Yeshua used in the Brit Hadashah when he said mind. There are also many words for mind, and I don't know Greek, and I don't know which word was used and how it was translated, but I'll show you a few just so you'll have some new words. Zikron. I don't know if you can see that is a Zion. Okay. Zikron. Okay. And this comes from the three-letter root zakar, and that means to remember. But it doesn't just mean memory, although sometimes you will see this word translated as memory or memorial. It can also mean kind of like the files that you've accumulated in your brain, the things that are from the past and they've kind of made you who you are, the memories in that sense. So zikron can be your mind. So can machshava. Excuse me, machshavel. Machshavel. Okay. Got caught. And this, those that were there can remember that this was in a really different font. So it's hard to read for me. Okay, and this comes from hashav, which means to think or to plan. And in fact, the, let's see, what is that word? Not makshavel, makshaval, makshavit. I can't remember now, but this part, this much, and then there's another letter on the end. And that's the word for calculator or computer in modern Hebrew. And I can't think of it right now. But that's the thinking, the planning, the whirring of the gears, and all that kind of stuff. There's also maskil. And this also has this letter, but instead of having the dot on the right, it's going to have it on the left. So it's not a sh sound, it's a s sound. Maskil. And this is one of the words that's easy to remember, I think. When you're reading Exodus and Moses is hearing from the Lord who he wants to have do different parts, the stone cutters, the people that are going to weave the curtains, all these kinds of things. And he says, I have put in them my skill or my intelligence, my cunning, sometimes it might be translated. And it's this word, maskil. And so if you have skill, if you're skilled, you have maskil. So this, it sounds very much like the English word with just the mem on the front. And then one more. Neshama. And these letters are not going to be in a good row. Now let me do that better. Get down low to do it. Okay. Okay. Neshama. It is also sometimes translated as soul. This means more spirit or psyche, your thoughts, your personality, your ego, your subconscious. It's all that kind of stuff going on in there. So you have zikron, makshaval, maskil, and neshama. And thank you very much. That's it for this one. I'm going to try and do the other one in just a moment.